This is Amud Yomi Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Ayin Tes Amud Aleph. I'm rolling in the top of Ayin Tes Amud Aleph, about 8 lines from the top at the 2 dots, as we continue discussing the different items and the requisite shiurim of how much one has to carry to be chayiv on Shabbos. The Mishnah taught us, if one carries out a hide, kidei lasos kemeya, in order to make a kemeya, in order to make an amulet. Va'imine Rava Mirav Nachman. Asks the Gemara, Hamaitzi ar v'kama, says the Reis, if one takes out an ar, how much does he have to take out to be chayiv? Amar loy, ketanan, as you learned in the Mishnah, kidei lasos kemeya. But now, v'haba abdai v'kama, let's say you tan the leather on Shabbos. How much of that melacha, of ibud, of tanning, does one have to do to be chayiv? Amar le loishina le abdai bekaba. And let's say one carries out that's not yet tanned. How much does he have to carry to be chayiv? Amar le loishina. So 3 different entities that Rav Nachman answered to Rava, that they have all the same shear, which is kidei lasos kemeya. Whether it's processed hides, whether it's unprocessed hides that you're carrying, or whether you're doing the actual tanning process, in all of them, the din is the shear of a kemeya, the shear to make an amulet. Asks Rav Nachman, where do you know this from? So Rav Nachman says, Gedetinan, Hamilabein, one who whitens wool, Vaminapeitz, one who untangles wool, Vatseveya, one who dyes wool, Vataiva, one who spins wool. Shiur, how much is the shiur? The width of a double, and the measurement is called a sit. If you weave 2 chutin, the same shear. So Alma says, Rav Nachman, even though they're 2 different things, but keep on that the entity is made dilit v'akoi, that what are you utilizing this item for? Eventually spinning it. Shiura, the shear right now is a kitviyah. Therefore, even though right now that's not what we're using it for, but because that's what the eventual process is for, that's what the shear is right now. Hochanami, so too in our case, says Rav Nachman, Kivan de la Abdoi, since it's eventually made for ibud, shiur kime ubad, the shear is the same as if it was already ibud, it was already tanned. So now Rava says a 4th question. And if one takes out something that shaloi la'abdoi, that it's not fit for ibud, meaning your teretz was that it's always fit for the next process. That's what it's sitting around for. So it goes by that shear. But now asks Rava, what if it's not? What if it's not going to ever be me'ubad? Amar le nacham, all the same answer, lo yishna. So asks Rava 3 different kashas, and as we're going to see, it's going to be the same teretz to all of them. Asks Rava, is there really no difference? Esvei, asks Rava, one who takes out samanim, herbs, shruyin, which are soaking for the eventual usage for dyeing, he's chayiv if he takes out enough to do what with them? To close up a dugma le'ira, the weaver's bobbin, the amount, the shear, the size of the material to close up the opening of this item utilized in weaving. Yeah, when it comes to herbs which are not yet soaked, says the Mishnah, nuts, husks, fields, flour, matter, all different types of items. What's the halacha? You have to take out enough to dye a beged katan. So asks Rav Nachman, we see, based on what the item is going to be used for, says the Gemara, based on what the item is going to be used for, is a different shear. So and even more than that, not based on what it's used for. If it's unprocessed, if it's not a finished item, we see it as a different shear. So asks Rav Nachman, it should be the same thing. Answers the Gemara, Ha'itmar Allah, as we wrap up the narrow lines. Amar Rav Nachman, the first wide line, excuse me, Amar Abba Ravua Lefi, and this is really going to be the teretz, and in all the cases we're going to prove that the reason why it was a kasha is because it's going to be used for a different item. But the Gemara is going to prove that the reason is it's totally in the tircha. Is this something that you generally are matriach for? And if it's something that not, that's why you need a larger shear. Not because Stam, it's an unfinished item, and unfinished items require a larger shear to be chayiv, to make it a melacha chashuva. No, because it's not the normal thing to be matriach, to bother yourself and exert energy in. And that's why you need a larger shear. Asks Rav Nachman further, seeds, before they're planted, it says in the Mishnah, Zarunegina, garden seeds, if it takes less than the size of a grogros. What is the shear? 5 seeds. But once they're planted, what is the shear for the seeds? Zevel, fertilizer of a chol, hadak, fine sand, to fertilize one single stalk of cabbage. Leek. So what do we see? Even though one single stalk obviously has no chashivas to it, still there is going to be a chiyav on it. So, and the difference is whether these seeds are planted or not. So why by us is there no difference between finished or unfinished leather hides? Answers Gemara, Itmar Allah, we learned Amar Baba, Had Dizriya, the Mishnah, which says that it's chashiv for that korov, that single cabbage stalk, is why it's planted. Adolizriya, it's not planted. Why? So what's the side? What's the bottom line reason? Again, like we answered the first aretz. Lefi she'ein adam tereach lo yitzinim achas azriya. One is not matriach for such a thing, because one's not matriach for such a thing. That's why you need a larger shear. I think Gemara now asks a third kasha in a similar vein. 8 lines into the wide lines. The first one line is Adam Bareitet. When it comes to clay, that nachamal demikami dilig Tananya. Before it was needed, how much is the chiyah moedacham the Ravi Shimon moisi sheivch l'shus rabim? If you carry out sheivch l'shus rabim, shiram b'revius. The shir is revius. V'avinan ba. And we asked on that Mishnah that said chamar moida by sheivchin, by wastewater. Sheivchin l'may chazi. V'amar Rav Yirmiyah l'gabalin, that's it. So what do we see? That when it comes to gibel atit, sheivchin, you need a revius of water. Yet, when we have tit, when we have clay that's already needed, what do we learn? Tit to cover the opening of a little flask. So what do we see? Which is clearly a smaller quantity than a revius. So again, we see that based if the entity is finished or not, whether the gibel is done or not, will determine if you need a larger quantity of water. So answers the Gemara again. It's not normal for one to be matriach to do the action of gibul for a small quantity. Once it's done, then you'll continue, and that's the reason why you'll need a larger quantity of water. And a fourth kasha. Tashema, ask the Gemara as Rav Nachman. Tashema deula. Excuse me. Asked the Gemara on Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman was the one that answered Rav's shaylos that all these 3-4 items all have the same shear. Tashma damar barami mishvei deula. Shloisha oyros say there's 3 types of oyros. Matzah, chipa, v'diftera. Those are the names. Rav Chia explains what is matzah as kamashmai. It's very untreated. It's not salted. It's not treated with flour nor walnuts. But kamashira, and what's the minimum shear? Tan Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yehuda. To wrap a small weight in this little piece of matzah, this little piece of unprocessed hide. The kamo, how big is a small weight? Amar Rabbi, river from Bedisa. Chipa, the type of hide called chipa, is the maliach. It's salted. One process was done with it, but v'loy kameach v'loy ofit. So kamashura, kids nan, or k'tilasvim kamiya. Tiftera, the third type of hide is what? The maliach kamiya. It's salted and floured, but v'loy ofit, there was no cold nuts placed in it. V'kamashura, tilech t'vasagat. So ask the Gemara, so what's the kasha? 4 lines in the bottom, katani miyas. What do we just learn today? Latzerba mishkalaitz ketano, to wrap a small weight from Rabbiya, rivet v'bedisa, which is larger than that which is required for tanned leather, which is, as our Mishnah taught us, kimeya. So ask the Gemara if this is mamash a direct kasha. We see whether it's processed, unprocessed hides. They're different. Shirim answers Gemara, no. Hasam over there, when the Rav Chia talked about this entity called matzah, is bibi shula. It's still moist. Because it's moist, it can't be tanned, and that's the reason why you need a larger shear, because it's never going to be tanned, it'll never be utilized for a more chashiv tanned piece of leather. One that's kasha of Atanan, I beg you, midras. A garment is 3x3 for Tomas midras, a sack is arba, or is chamisha, mapas is shisha, bein the midras, bein the mace. V'tani Allah, I beg it, a sack va'or. All of these three items, kishir tomakach shir loitzah, has the shear for Haitzah. And how big is that? 5x5 tfachim, which is much larger than our shear, which is Kedilas's Kameya to make an amulet. Answers the Gemara, Haho Bikar Tovla. It's talking about boiled leather, which can only be used for furniture and making large kelim. That's the reason why you need to have a larger shear to be chayiv. We'll pick it up from the top of Ayin Tesem Beis the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.